Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Wow. Let me tell you something. It seems like every day there is something new about 3 Eye Atlas. Now they're saying they're detecting a heartbeat. Well, I think if it's the Most High, he certainly wouldn't be flying around in something that's dead. So, whatever it is, of course it would have life. So, that to me is not surprising at all. I think anything that the Most High would have would be filled with life. So, they're doing a lot of speculating. Oh, they're out there just probing, or they're researching, or they're doing this and doing that. The Most High don't have to research us. He already knows all about us. He doesn't have to research anything about a planet that he created. That's why when you listen to these Gentiles, you really got to use a lot of discernment because they are really clueless to why this thing is here. But some of the ones that are more savvy, they know their time is coming to an end on this planet. That's why you see a lot of fear in them. And then you have the other ones. Oh, they're probing. Oh, they're researching. Oh, they're trying to learn more about us. The Most High, if He created us, He doesn't have to learn about us. He already knows about us. He already knows about this earth. He doesn't have to probe and learn about the earth. Come on. That's absolutely ridiculous. But these are the kind of things they're putting out. And when I hear that kind of stuff, I just kind of dismiss it. That's just like somebody, you send your child out there and they say, oh, that mother's going to have to probe their child and research and learn about. You don't have to learn about your own child. You know your child. Come on, you know? And that's how ridiculous they sound to me when they put those kind of videos up. So just take some of the things that they say with a grain of salt, y'all. Some of the things is some information and some is absolutely ridiculous. But understand it's coming from Gentiles, you know. And I had a conversation with my son, and he was saying to me, why did the Most High put so many adversaries around us, so many Gentiles? And I told him, I said, because we were so mighty and so strong as a people. If he would have put a few Gentiles around us, we would have long defeated them by now. So he had to outnumber us like this because we were so strong, we would have been put their behinds down by now. And that's the big reason why they have to keep coming at us, like the cops coming after one of our brothers. They got to come in 10 deep because they know who we are. That's why they do it. They do it that way because they know who the hell we are. They're not stupid. So, well, and I sense also, not trying to jump from place to place, but I have since learned about that Somalian that I did the live one last night that got sent from Minnesota to Mogadishu. His ass had a criminal record. That's why he got sent and deported back over to Somalia. He had a criminal record. He was one of the ones over here scamming. I said, that's why I don't feel sorry for his tears. Let us say, as see you're home. Well, I don't know what you're crying for. You're home. Okay? That's exactly where you belong. And like I told y'all, they going to get sent home penniless. You see how he's begging for people to help him? Oh, talk to the Black Americans. Oh, see if they'll help me get back over there. No, no, your ass is a criminal. You sit over there with the rest of the criminals of your nations are. Most of y'all over there in Somalia are a bunch of criminals. So sit over there with your people. You're back at home and stop bugging us to help you. When y'all come over here, you make us your adversary. Y'all don't bond with us. You make us your adversary, both the men and women. So you keep your ass right on over there. We ain't getting involved with you and your mess. So, y'all, let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We ain't worried about him. He came over here. Instead of being a good citizen while he was here, he committed crimes. So that's on him. And aren't Somalis saying they're not black people? Okay, then why aren't you going to white people looking for your help? You ain't black people. So get on over there to the white people. You ain't going to go to them because they're the ones that had your ass deported. Okay. Please give me a one if you can see my screen. They all are, y'all. They're not even working like they claim they're working. No, they're scamming. They're getting EBT, they're scamming, they're getting all kinds of government assistance. They're lying and saying all their kids got autism to get government money for their kids for having autism. They're doing all kinds of lying and scamming. So let their asses get sent back. I don't nobody care. They don't belong here anyway. Their country is Somalia. If they haven't done nothing with the country and it's a dump, that's their problem. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Here's the thing. New images of Three-Eye Atlas from Hawaii and Thailand just revealed something no one expected. A jet so thin, so stable, and so directional that it might actually be pulsing, almost like a heartbeat. We're not talking about random outgassing. We're talking about a repeating pattern showing up in independent data on different nights from different observers. And the more we zoom in, the stranger it gets. Let's break down what the new images actually show. Start with Hawaii. That 10 times refined zoom reveals a jet that isn't just thin, it's unnaturally stable. Even when you isolate the nucleus, the emission stays straight, narrow, and perfectly aligned with the sunward side. That shouldn't happen with normal dust flow. Dust spreads, dust bends, dust reacts to pressure. But here, the jet holds its line. Then we have the Thailand rotational gradient data. Different country, different telescope, different method, exact same story. The Larsen-Sekanina filter exposes multiple jet directions, and they're symmetrical. That symmetry doesn't come from noise, and it doesn't come from random outgassing. It points to a controlled, repeating outflow. 2 locations, 2 datasets, and both show geometry that's surprisingly organized. Now here's where things get strange. A pattern has started to show up in the timing of these jets. Observers notice that the brightness isn't random. It rises and falls on a cycle. Roughly every 16 hours, the jet seems to brighten, fade, then brighten again. This isn't coming from the nucleus alone. The nucleus is tiny compared to the coma. It can't produce a deep brightness modulation on its own. That means the pulses are coming from the jet itself, a kind of periodic outflow, almost like a heartbeat. Hawaii and Thailand both captured it on different nights. Different gear, different skies, same pulsing behavior. That's why some astronomers think we're looking at a repeating mechanism, not just simple sunlight heating an icy surface. If the brightening lines up with the sun's direction, it's natural. If it ignores the sun entirely, then we're looking at something far more unusual. Right now, nobody has confirmed which it is, but the timing pattern is there, and it keeps repeating. Even outside the astronomy world, these new images are starting to spill into mainstream conversations. Grimes shared this today, calling the Three-Eye Atlas story rare, captivating, and incredible to watch unfold. When a niche interstellar object makes its way into culture like this, you know something unusual is happening. So here's where we are: Hawaii's deep zoom stacks, Thailand's rotational gradient filters, and multiple observers tracking night after night. All of them are pointing to the same thing: a jet that's not drifting, not widening, and possibly not even steady. It might be pulsing, almost breathing. And whether those pulses are tied to sunlight or completely ignoring it, that's the test. If the timing matches the sun, nature explains it. If it doesn't, then we're looking at a mechanism we don't fully understand yet. We also now have something new. People outside astronomy are paying attention. Even Grimes shared the Hawaii frames today, calling the object rare and captivating. When cultural voices start watching an interstellar object, you know the story has escaped the scientific bubble. NASA's high-resolution data is coming. Keck is sitting on fresh observations. ALMA already shows the gas emissions are compact and organized. Once the next batch drops, we'll know whether this pulse pattern is real or just an illusion from limited data. I'm tracking every frame, every stack, every enhanced gradient, every observer log. The moment new images land, we're breaking them down here. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next update.
It's looking like a spacecraft, guys. Interstellar object 3i Atlas is heading in the direction of Earth, and the closer it gets, the more details are coming out. Listen, there's a propulsion system, which we talked about in the past, right? The 7 jets. Well, now they're pulsating. And it's not just that they're pulsating. Some people are saying it's like a heartbeat. 3i Atlas has a heartbeat, but that's not what's going on, guys. The jet, so it's firing off the right side. It's firing off the left side. These things are activating to steer it through space. If there's objects coming towards it like rocks, space junk, meteorites, stuff like that, it'll fire the left thruster, send it the other direction. Thing is looking more advanced as the days and weeks goes on. And that forward-facing beam that we saw a couple months ago, a couple weeks ago, it's getting even more pronounced. That beam is cutting through space like a headlight. Why? Because it helps it navigate objects, just like the thrusters do. This thing already has 12 anomalies that separate it from a regular comet. And the closer it gets to Earth, by December 19th, we're going to have a really good view of this object. Oh, and by the way, NASA, yeah, they put out some images, but they were all blurry. They are still holding back and still have not released the high-definition photos, guys, of 3i Atlas from the Mars orbiter for this object to get right next to Earth, guys. December 19th, right around that time period, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
Atlas has a heartbeat, 16 hours, pulsing, and it might prove everything. July 1st, 2025. Astronomers detect periodic variability in Atlas's brightness. Every 16 hours, the light pulses, brightens by tens of percent, dims, repeats, like clockwork. Scientists assumed a spinning nucleus. They calculated the shape, an ellipsoid with an axis ratio of 0.8. Standard interpretation, textbook explanation. They were wrong. July 21st. Hubble Space Telescope captures Atlas in unprecedented detail. The image reveals something critical. Most of the light isn't coming from the nucleus. It's coming from the coma, the glowing halo surrounding the solid core. The coma dominates. The nucleus contributes less than 1% of the total light at infrared wavelengths, less than 1% from the solid surface. If the nucleus only produces 1% of the light, how can its rotation cause tens of percent brightness variation in the total light we observe? The math doesn't work. The spinning shape theory collapses. The 16-hour pulse isn't the nucleus rotating. It's something else entirely. The heartbeat isn't the body, it's the engine. Here's what's actually pulsing: the jets. Multiple collimated outflows extending millions of kilometers from Atlas, gas and dust expelled at high velocity. These jets are what glow. These jets are what we're seeing brighten and dim every 16 hours. Like a beating heart pumping blood, Atlas pumps gas every 16 hours. The natural version goes like this. A large pocket of ice sits on one side of the nucleus. As Atlas rotates, that ice pocket faces the sun periodically. Solar heating sublimates the ice. Gas erupts. The coma gets pumped up with fresh material. Brightness spikes. Then the rotation carries the ice pocket back into shadow. Sublimation stops. The burst of gas disperses. Brightness drops. Every 16 hours, the ice pocket completes one rotation and faces the sun again. Another pulse, another heartbeat. At 440 meters per second, outflow velocity measured by Webb telescope, gas travels 25,600 kilometers in 16 hours. That's the heartbeat range. The distance material can reach during one cycle before the next pulse begins. But here's why the heartbeat pattern proves it's not natural. Natural sublimation requires the ice pocket to face the sun. The jets must point sunward. The heartbeat must align with the sun's direction. Thrusters don't have that constraint. Thrusters fire every 16 hours on schedule, regardless of orientation. The jets can point any direction. Perpendicular to the sun, away from the sun. Arbitrary angles determined by mission requirements, not thermal physics. And we've seen exactly that. Multiple jets pointing in directions that don't align with sunlight. The X pattern extending 1,000,000 kilometers. Perpendicular outflows. The anti-tail pointing toward the sun despite radiation pressure. If the 16-hour pulse corresponds to jets that point sunward, it's natural sublimation. If the pulse corresponds to jets that point anywhere else, it's artificial propulsion. There's a definitive test. Time-lapse images over several days will prove it. Capture Atlas every few hours. Build a movie showing the jets brightening and dimming. Track which direction the brightness pulse propagates. Does the heartbeat pattern orient toward the sun every time? Natural ice pocket. Does the heartbeat pattern point in other directions? Fixed nozzles, firing on schedule. Loeb proposed this test weeks ago. A systematic study. Well-calibrated snapshots over several rotation cycles. Map the orientation of the pulsing jets relative to the sun. It hasn't been done. No published time-lapse exists in the literature. No systematic movie showing the 16-hour cycle and jet orientation over days. Why hasn't NASA released systematic snapshots over days? They have Hubble. They have access to ground-based networks. They coordinated 20 different spacecraft missions to observe Atlas. Why not produce the one movie that would definitively answer whether the heartbeat points sunward or not? Either they haven't collected the data, which is negligent given how critical this question is, or they have collected it and aren't releasing it, which raises different questions. The 16-hour heartbeat was the first mystery about Atlas, detected on day 1. 5 months later, we still don't have the time-lapse imaging that would explain it. We thought the heartbeat was rotation. Hubble proved the nucleus is too small to cause the brightness variation we observe. The jets are pulsing. The coma is being pumped periodically, natural ice pocket facing the sun at regular intervals, or artificial thrusters firing on 16-hour cycles. The difference is orientation. Natural jets must follow the sun. Artificial jets can point anywhere. Time-lapse imaging will prove natural or artificial. Someone needs to do it. The data exists. Multiple observatories have captured Atlas repeatedly. The images just need to be compiled into a systematic movie tracking jet orientation over rotation cycles. December 19th brings optimal observation conditions, Hubble and Webb pointing at Atlas with unprecedented detail. Ground-based telescopes coordinated globally. Make the movie, track the heartbeat, measure the orientation. If the pulse follows the sun, we're looking at exotic ice sublimation from an interstellar comet. If the pulse points anywhere else, we're looking at propulsion systems firing on schedule. Atlas has a heartbeat. 16 hours. Pulsing. The pattern will prove whether that heartbeat belongs to ice or engines. Someone just needs to measure which way it's pointing.
On October 24th, astronomers tuned the Meerkat radio telescope for a gamble. The radio telescope in South Africa's Karoo Desert detected what may be the first microwave whisper from an interstellar object. The astronomers wanted answers from interstellar darkness. What they caught was beyond expectation.
On November 14, astronomers documented an event that no known natural comet has ever exhibited, a precisely tuned narrowband absorption signature from 3I Atlas at 1665 and 1667 megahertz, the twin frequencies of the 18-centimeter OH microwave transition, long regarded in SETI circles as a potential interstellar communication channel. These were not the broad-spectrum stochastic emissions normally produced by volatile sublimation or solar heating. They were thin, clean, and unwavering, radio fingerprints that emerged exactly where no one expected them, with a precision that contradicted the chaotic physics of a typical cometary coma. The discovery ignited immediate debate. Chemical explanations were proposed, rotational forcing was reconsidered, and instrument error was briefly entertained before being ruled out. As data accumulated, the signal's consistency undermined every conventional hypothesis. A natural object was speaking in unnaturally narrow lines. 16 days later, on November 30th, 2025, an equally baffling anomaly surfaced, this time not as a radio signature, but as visible evidence of a repeating physical structure. Newly processed imagery revealed a jet on 3I Atlas brightening and dimming in a rhythmic cadence. The timing aligned with a 16.16-hour cycle, prompting Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb to describe it as a heartbeat, a metaphor that instantly seized public imagination. Analysts initially assumed the periodicity originated from the comet's rotation. However, further analysis overturned that assumption. The nucleus was far too dim to produce the observed amplitude, and its rotational signature, such as it was, could not account for the jet's synchronized pulses. The modulation originated within the jet itself, as though mass were being expelled on a regulated timer. A second anomaly now stood beside the first, unrelated in mechanism, yet similar in implication. One was electromagnetic, the other mechanical. Both demonstrated regularity where randomness should reign. Together, the anomalies suggested a pattern forming beneath the surface of the data. The radio absorption and the pulsing jet behaved like independent signals from a shared system, different channels of a process that ordinary comet physics struggled to explain. Unsettling questions circulated more rapidly than researchers could answer them. If the radio lines were truly narrow band and the jet truly rhythmic, the phenomena might point toward internal structuring or coordinated venting. No model of natural outgassing produced such sharp periodicity, especially for an interstellar object whose composition already deviated from expectations. 3I Atlas began to resemble not merely an unusual comet, but a system exhibiting synchronized behavior in multiple domains. Into this growing debate entered a third layer of complexity, one originating from NASA's own archives rather than external telescopes. A week after the agency released a faint, unimpressive high-rise smear of 3I Atlas, a private research collective called Earth Exists examined the raw planetary data system files and found a story that diverged sharply from the official explanation. Metadata revealed that HiRISE had actually performed a full 14-bit multispectral capture, red, NIR, and blue-green, each executed flawlessly with no errors, memory faults, or telemetry gaps, yet none of these high-resolution channels appeared in the public archive. Only a single downsampled 8-bit grayscale strip remained, while placeholders and missing file markers indicated the unreleased exposures once existed.
Loeb, a Harvard astrophysicist who's no stranger to controversial ideas about interstellar visitors, looked at the data and proposed something that sounds almost biological. He suggested that 3I Atlas isn't just spinning, it's pulsing. It's ejecting gas and dust in rhythmic bursts, inflating and collapsing its coma like a cosmic lung. Every 16.16 hours, this object breathes. It pumps out material that expands the coma, making it bright. Then the material disperses or fades, and the object dims again. A heartbeat. Not a rotation, a heartbeat. Think about what that means. If Loeb is right, we're not watching passive reflection of sunlight off a tumbling rock. We're watching active periodic outgassing on a scale that changes the scattering cross-section of the entire coma. This is dynamic behavior. This is an object doing something, not just being something. And if the standard comet model can't explain it, if rotation fails mathematically, then we're forced to ask what kind of mechanism could drive such a regular, powerful pulse. The stakes here are bigger than one weird object. If 3I Atlas is genuinely pulsing, if its brightness variations come from rhythmic ejections rather than simple geometry, then our canonical understanding of what interstellar visitors look like, how they behave, and what drives their activity needs serious revision. We've only detected a handful of these travelers. If even one of them doesn't fit the mold, it cracks the mold wide open. And here's the thing that should keep you up at night. We have this pulse. We have the data showing it repeats with eerie precision. We have the mathematical proof that rotation can't explain it. But we don't yet have the full picture of what's actually happening during each pulse. We don't have the smoking gun time-lapse that shows the coma expanding, the jets firing, the whole cycle playing out in real time with timestamps and solar geometry overlaid. That data might exist somewhere, locked in proprietary archives or still being analysed. Or maybe no one's captured it yet. Either way, we're standing at the edge of a mystery with one foot over the line. So let's dig into why rotation fails, not just conceptually but numerically, why the math simply doesn't work for the potato-shaped rock hypothesis. Part 2. Why rotation fails, the numerical impossibility, not just the conceptual one. The rotating potato model is elegant in its simplicity. You've got an elongated object, think of a football or an oblong asteroid spinning on its axis. As it rotates, the cross-sectional area facing Earth changes. Broadside, maximum area, maximum reflected light, maximum brightness. Edge on, minimal area, dimmer. This is Astronomy 101. It's how we've explained brightness variations in asteroids and comets for decades. It works beautifully for most objects, but 3i Atlas isn't most objects. Let's start with what we know from the best imaging available. On July 21, 2025, the Hubble Space Telescope captured its sharpest look yet at 3i Atlas. What it showed was a diffuse, glowing coma with no resolved nucleus. The solid core of this thing was too small to appear as a distinct point of light even under Hubble's gaze. From that non-detection, astronomers could set an upper limit on the nucleus size, about 2.8 kilometers in radius. Could be smaller, but definitely not bigger. Now, let's do some basic geometry. The surface area of a sphere is 4 pr squared. For a 2.8 kilometer radius nucleus, you're looking at a surface area of roughly 250 square kilometers. That sounds big until you compare it to the coma. The coma, this vast cloud of gas and dust, scatters sunlight across an effective area measured in millions of square kilometers. The nucleus is a grain of sand in a spotlight. Even if you assume the nucleus is perfectly reflective, a flawless mirror catching every photon, its contribution to the total brightness is a rounding error. Here's the problem. Loeb, a Harvard astrophysicist who's no stranger to controversial ideas about interstellar visitors, looked at the data and proposed something that sounds almost biological. He suggested that 3i Atlas isn't just spinning, it's pulsing. It's ejecting gas and dust in rhythmic bursts, inflating and collapsing its coma like a cosmic lung. Every 16.16 hours, this object breathes. It pumps out material that expands the coma, making it bright. Then the material disperses or fades, and the object dims again. A heartbeat. Not a rotation, a heartbeat. Think about what that means. If Loeb is right, we're not watching passive reflection of sunlight off a tumbling rock. We're watching active, periodic outgassing on a scale that changes the scattering cross-section of the entire coma. This is dynamic behavior. This is an object doing something, not just being something. And if the standard comet model can't explain it, if rotation fails mathematically, then we're forced to ask what kind of mechanism could drive such a regular, powerful pulse. The stakes here are bigger than one weird object. If 3i Atlas is genuinely pulsing, if its brightness variations come from rhythmic ejections rather than simple geometry, then our canonical understanding of what interstellar visitors look like, how they behave, and what drives their activity needs serious revision. We've only detected a handful of these travelers. If even one of them doesn't fit the mold, it cracks the mold wide open. And here's the thing that should keep you up at night. We have this pulse. We have the data showing it repeats with eerie precision. We have the mathematical proof that rotation can't explain it. But we don't yet have the full picture of what's actually happening during each pulse. We don't have the smoking gun time-lapse that shows the coma expanding, the jets firing, the whole cycle playing out in real time with timestamps and solar geometry overlaid. That data might exist somewhere, locked in proprietary archives or still being analysed. Or maybe no one's captured it yet. Either way, we're standing at the edge of a mystery with one foot over the line. So let's dig into why rotation fails, not just conceptually but numerically, why the math simply doesn't work for the potato-shaped rock hypothesis. Part 2. Why rotation fails, the numerical impossibility, not just the conceptual one. The The rotating potato model is elegant in its simplicity. You've got an elongated object, think of a football or an oblong asteroid spinning on its axis. As it rotates, the cross-sectional area facing Earth changes. Broadside, maximum area, maximum reflected light, maximum brightness. Edge on, minimal area, dimmer. This is Astronomy 101. It's how we've explained brightness variations in asteroids and comets for decades. It works beautifully for most objects, but 3i Atlas isn't most objects. Let's start with what we know from the best imaging available. On July 21, 2025, the Hubble Space Telescope captured its sharpest look yet at 3i Atlas. What it showed was a diffuse, glowing coma with no resolved nucleus. The solid core of this thing was too small to appear as a distinct point of light even under Hubble's gaze. From that non-detection, astronomers could set an upper limit on the nucleus size, about 2.8 kilometers in radius. Could be smaller, but definitely not bigger. Now, let's do some basic geometry. The surface area of a sphere is 4 pr squared. For a 2.8 kilometer radius nucleus, you're looking at a surface area of roughly 250 square kilometers. That sounds big until you compare it to the coma. The coma, this vast cloud of gas and dust, scatters sunlight across an effective area measured in millions of square kilometers. The nucleus is a grain of sand in a spotlight. Even if you assume the nucleus is perfectly reflective, a flawless mirror catching every photon, its contribution to the total brightness is a rounding error. Here's the problem.
Whatever struck it might not have been a visitor at all. It might have been a heartbeat, the third interstellar visitor. Long before the impact, 3i Atlas had already been a quiet enigma. It was the third confirmed interstellar object ever recorded, after Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. But while those earlier visitors behaved like anomalies of rock and ice, Atlas was something else entirely. Oumuamua had puzzled scientists with its shape, a flattened shard, tumbling end over end, reflecting sunlight erratically. Borisov looked like a more traditional comet, shedding dust and gas as it passed the sun. But 3i Atlas was inert. No outgassing, no tail, no flare, just a dark, non-reflective body gliding through the void. Its trajectory was unmistakable, a perfect hyperbolic path, the mathematical fingerprint of an unbound traveler. It wasn't orbiting our sun, it was only passing through, drawn briefly into our...
Hey guys, dApp7, some updates here on 3i Atlas. As you can see here in the imagery, this is kind of a GIF here showing a heartbeat type of pattern. They're saying that has been detected off of Atlas, saying that when it shifts and it's off-gassing, it's giving off a pattern, and that it's spinning at a rate of a revolution per 16.16 hours exactly. And there's a long list of anomalies that go along with this. But this here, you can see kind of what they're talking about with this pattern of how it keeps shifting and it almost looks like a heartbeat. And then we have the observations that were taken in October that now when they look at them, they're saying that they reveal a structured core and traces of industrial grade metal, casting doubts even further here in terms that this thing is natural. We also have new images here, again, looking like a big sword, so to speak, in the sky. This was at the Kalopa stars in Hawaii. They caught this. Refined this 10x zoom on the left, and you can see that it's got this razor thin jet that comes out, and of course the anti-tail, and it's maintaining this as it's spinning. So this is what they can't explain. If it's spinning, then the jets should be moving, as I've explained and showed before, but they're not. They're staying stationary, one pointed toward the sun, an anti-tail, so to speak, and the other away. And it's carrying a composition still of water, small amounts of water that should have been long gone when it went around the sun. And a long list of anomalies here that we've covered time and time again. But with the new heartbeat type of pattern it's giving off, and the fact that it's spinning and the jets aren't spinning with it, are indeed strange characteristics, but I wanted to share some of the newer images and shots here with you guys. I'll dive into this in further detail on the next live stream. Join me going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Dabu 77. Eyes to the skies.
The alien spaceship 3i Atlas may have a pulsating heartbeat in what could be the biggest clue in answering whether it's an extraterrestrial object or not. Since the summer, what NASA has dubbed a comet has been hurtling through our solar system, baffling experts as it goes. This new pulse update comes after 3i Atlas experienced a clear non-gravitational acceleration, according to orbital data. Harvard professor Avi Loeb revealed the multi-jet structure will arrive at its closest to Earth on December 19th, in what could be our closest ever encounter with alien life and technology.
It started like every other space story, just another frozen rock drifting through the void. Then the James Webb Space Telescope looked closer, and the universe blinked first. At first, 3i Atlas was nothing special, the third interstellar visitor ever detected, cruising through our solar system like cosmic roadkill. But then Webb's sensors caught something that shouldn't exist. A pulse. Every 4 hours, like clockwork, a surge of heat flashed from deep inside the object. Not from sunlight, not from spin, from within, like a heartbeat echoing through space. Then came the radio signals, perfectly timed, unnaturally precise. Every beat of light matched a faint repeating transmission. A pattern so exact, scientists started whispering the word no one dared to say aloud, communication. And just when the world thought it couldn't get any weirder, 3i Atlas turned. Literally, it changed course. Objects in space don't do that. Not unless something, or someone, is steering. Spectroscopic data only deepened the nightmare. The materials weren't random rock or ice, they were engineered. Alloys never seen in nature. Quantum structures that bend light like stealth tech. This wasn't a comet, it was constructed. Then Webb caught something moving inside, a spiral-shaped core, rotating in perfect golden ratio symmetry. DNA, galaxies, shells, and now a spiral heartbeat pulsing in deep space. Life doesn't just evolve symmetry like that, it designs it. Finally, a shadow passed over the object. A section of the surface slid open, smooth, metallic, deliberate, revealing a dark cavity within. Not a crater, not a fracture, a door. If it's a ship,
Okay. All right, y'all. So, in other words, they can't figure out why this thing is uh, displaying a heartbeat every so many hours. And you know what? The Most High is never going to let Gentiles figure out anything that he's doing. So, anything they will be telling you will be pure speculation. And their biggest fear, y'all, is still December 19th. December 19th is the day they fear the most this month. So as that date approach, you're going to see them going over the edge online. And hey, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. They're going to be losing their minds as that date comes. And that's not going to be the date anyway. I'm not even anticipating anything happening because he said nobody's going to know the time or date. All they're anticipating is it's going to come out from behind the sun, and they'll be able to get a really good view of it. So they are petrified of what they're about to see. And the thing is, whatever happens, if it comes in this direction, that's for them. That's not for us. That's for them. So, y'all, thank you for being here. Now, the next live is going to be probably like around 2:45, and it's gonna be on the Haitians just lost their temporary protection, and they're about to be deported. So we know the Somalians lost theirs about a week ago, and they're getting their behinds the hell up on out of here. And the Haitians are next. Trump just announced yesterday that they are no longer under any protection here and they have to go. So we'll talk about that a little later. So everybody, please enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you a little later. Shalom, family.